you have watched my recent Sweet Side video, you will see I was talking about a vegan cookie company called Floozies, who had just announced that they were no longer going to be a completely vegan cookie company and that they were going to be introducing non-vegan ingredients. And the reason behind this, they said, is because vegan ingredients had become really expensive. So instead of increasing their costs, they were going to introduce non-vegan ingredients. The irony of the announcement was that it was actually on International Vegan Day, and I'm sure it was done intentionally, but I don't know if they realised the irony of actually doing it on non-vegan day, because a lot of the comments from vegans who were very unhappy about it said, the irony of you announcing this on International Vegan Day was not lost on them. A lot of vegan foodies were outraged, saying they weren't going to buy from them ever again, saying there's the risk of cross-contamination, you're harming animals now in terms of profit. And the comments kind of got a little bit nasty, I would say. I mean, I can understand from a vegan point of view if you're like a true vegan. I'm not vegan. I do eat dairy products. But there were some people who were like, I can understand why you're doing this, because as we know, in this cost of living crisis, everything has gotten more expensive. And I'm assuming that some vegan ingredients are quite specialist, so they are more expensive. And for the business to survive, they've decided, actually, we're going to make this a vegan and non-vegan business. They have said that half of the menu is going to remain vegan, but I think for a lot of sort of staunch vegans, that's not good enough. I have done previous videos about whether veganism is on the way, and there was one video I did at the beginning of 2024, and there also was another video in that same year when I spoke about Benji's Buns. Now, Benji's Buns started off as a vegan cinnamon bun venture. They had one shop, I think it was in Ealing, and then they opened another shop in Notting Hill, which I went to and did a review. Not long after that, they announced that they were going to become inclusive and include non-vegan ingredients. And again, there was a huge backlash against this, with vegans saying, we're not going to buy from you anymore, etc. Not long after that, the business actually closed. They didn't say why, it just closed. And then they popped up in America. So the business is still going in America. Here's some video of their Instagram. And it seems to be doing quite well. Of course, it's not vegan. It's like, I don't even know if they do any vegan specific products, and I don't even know if the same owner is the same person who owns it. I don't know if they sold the brand, don't know, but they went to America and seem to be doing okay. In September this year, The Guardian did an article about, is veganism on the way? Because they were looking at a lot of restaurants that were completely vegan, and then they started to introduce non-vegan items, and on the flip side, some of them actually closed. And what they found was that it was kind of a mixture of cost of living crisis, which I must have said that phrase so many times this year, and also the nature of the ultra processed foods in veganism. They found that a lot of vegan places had sold ultra processed food. Now, I can't really comment on that. I mean, vegan foods like tofu, I think that's probably classed as ultra processed food, isn't it? But I'm sure there are, and I've been to some restaurants that have vegan dishes or are completely vegan, and not all of their items are ultra processed food. So I'm not sure where that's come from. I don't know. I mean, they do talk about the fact that veganism itself is still quite popular, but it seems to be that vegan only food ventures are not, which is kind of a bit ironic. But anyway, what I would do, I will put a link to the article in that The Guardian wrote. It's quite an interesting article. I think in conclusion, it's a tough balance, because it's about keeping your customers happy, but then also looking at your business and thinking, how am I going to survive? But I think if you're a staunch vegan foodie who opens a vegan business and then you get to the point where actually I'm going to include non-vegan ingredients, I think that probably takes a lot to do, especially if you're somebody who is like 100% vegan. And what I mean by that is, you know, you don't wear leather, you don't wear wool. I mean, how far you don't wear silk. This is how strict some vegans are. So I think that the issue is with some vegans is that if you were a vegan business and suddenly you're not, some vegan foodies are like, well, actually, were you actually a really vegan person, or were you just doing that just to kind of hop on the bandwagon a bit? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Floozies if they do survive or if they end up closing, because the amount of vegans that said they're not going to Floozies anymore, they're going to lose that custom. But then they may gain new customers of people who, I say new customers, but the issue I have is that anybody can eat vegan food. You don't have to be vegan to eat vegan food. So are they going to gain new customers? I don't know. They might bring out new products. I don't know. Just be interested to see what happens. But the backlash that I saw in those comments on their Instagram was like, wow. It was, yeah, it was crazy. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Until next time, Cake lovers.